everyone, and welcome to the Urbana Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Can we do the roll call?
Yes. Annie Adams.
Here.
Susan Jones.
Here.
Tommy Griscom.
Here.
Chi-Shi Huang told me she could not make it. Audrey Ishii, also not going to make it this evening. Bruce Mickelson.
Here.
Heenan Portis. Sartak Prasad.
Here.
Nancy Westcott.
Here.
And I'm Carmen Franks. I'm also here.
Are there any changes to the agenda? No changes to the agenda. How about approval of minutes of previous meeting? Looks like we have November 2024 meeting notes. And then December 2024 meeting minutes.
I move to approve, well, both minutes. I will second that.
All right, meeting minutes approved. Is there any public input?
Wait, we have to
Nope.
vote.
Never mind, we have to vote. Vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on. Is there any public input?
So sorry, just to be clear, that was a movement to approve both sets of minutes, correct? Okay.
Yep, sorry, I'm moving fast. It's my understanding never mind. I'm not going to tell you about a basketball game. All right, so I had too much coffee. So is there any, yes, we've approved both November 2024 meeting minutes and December 2024 meeting minutes. And I don't see anyone out here. I don't believe any of us got any written public input, so I think there is no public input. Do we have any unfinished business? I also realized Audrey was doing notes. Each person was going to say something, but we can talk about that later. We can do it under announcements. No public input, no unfinished. Is there unfinished business? Anyone? No? Okay. So next is reports of city officials and staff and reports of committees.
Okay, I'll give the city updates on projects. So the Florida Avenue shared use path, the plans are 90% complete. We are anticipating delays to the project with the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, for any work in front of the University of Illinois President's House. Construction is likely pushed back to 2026.
Oof.
I'll just move through these unless you have a question, then you can stop me. Sorry? I just heard groans. Yeah.
So can you fill us more in on that? That they're just trying to run through plans to see if they can put the road and the bike path in front of the president's house? Is that
I think so. I didn't
Okay.
get any more updates or any more details from John on that one, but if you have questions, I can direct them to him.
And I believe we have the funding for that one?
Yes.
Okay.
The funding is in place for that. And then we did receive the RAISE grant for the rest of Florida Avenue. That was awarded in January, but it was awarded, so we don't have the funds yet. So that's not on my list of updates. That's just my information.
Carmen, about the historic thing, I talked to our historic preservation officers at the university, and he said that that's not, President's House is not a historic landmark, and it's not going to be a historic landmark.
Okay.
So I would ask, I could ask him to send an email, or if you have like a email chain, you can forward it to me, or I can give you Dennis's contact, and you guys can talk directly about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll connect you with John about that.
Yeah.
Okay. historic, sorry. Okay. The Baker's Lane shared use path. The designer is working toward 90% plans now. Construction is anticipated to begin in early fall of this year to be completed in 2026. The CDBG sidewalk improvements. Small project to spend the CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, funds on sidewalk repairs in an eligible low to moderate income area. Improvements along Beardsley Avenue, it's in the Dr. Ellis neighborhood, to be completed by the end of March. The EQL, the Equity Quality of Life, funded streetlights that were started in FY22. The construction is underway now to be completed by mid-2025. The EQL FY25 program, the City Council approved the program. Engineering is proceeding with the design. Lincoln Avenue Corridor Study. We are working on revising the concept plans now to finalize the study. So we finished all phases of public input, closed in early January. Kind of reviewing all of that input that we received and doing some further traffic analysis for the road closures to see if large trucks can turn around, and working with our fire department to see if they are supportive of these or not. And we will have a final concept plan in the next month or two, estimated. Yeah. Is there a question? No? Okay.
I assume my understanding when I was watching feedback is that people were good with the road design. It was just the cul-de-sacs that we had to kind of just see if that was even actionable, if that was a thing.
Yeah, that's right. Most of the feedback was very positive regarding the change from the 4 lanes to 3 on Lincoln Avenue, where it's currently 4 lanes, and adding the bike lanes. Overall, mostly supportive of that. But yes, it's closing the 3 streets that we had proposed to close to minimize those interactions between vehicles turning and vehicles driving on Lincoln Avenue, vehicles and pedestrians that are trying to cross the street, and vehicles with bikers that will now be using the new bike lanes. But yeah, we are still looking at analyzing the impacts of those closures, like how much safety benefit we would get out of that versus just changing to a right in, right out only, or making no change at all, or maybe one way. So looking at all the different alternatives right now to finalize our concept. But then there's still design phase to happen, of course, too. So changes could still happen even after we finalize these concept plans. Yeah.
I had a quick follow-up question on that. Was the concern from members of like West Urbana? What exactly were they concerned about with regards to the closure? Because I haven't been reading the WUNA email list, so I don't know, but I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, so there was some concern about closing those roads would actually cause traffic to go faster on Lincoln Avenue, which our traffic engineers do not anticipate that occurring. There was also concern about garbage trucks not being able to turn around, and then they would have to back in and out of the street, and that can be really noisy, and they'd be spending more time stalling on someone's street. There's also concern about additional traffic going down the other streets because they can't access Lincoln on those 3 closed streets. So, and more traffic on Busey as a result of the closures. But our traffic engineers have looked at almost all of the things that were brought up. And so we will be revising the website as well to address those concerns too.
Sorry, one more follow-up question. Do you happen to know if there was a plan for, I think it's Iowa and Lincoln, where there's the bike crossing? Because it's the one question I think we didn't quite get an answer to, or that there wasn't a clear solution to the problem, at least.
So I believe Iowa is one of the streets that we have proposed to be closed. And then the pedestrian bike crossing is proposed there at the
Oh,
closure.
at the intersection. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
if not right at the intersection, then near it. I don't recall offhand.
Okay.
but-
Yeah, I think the concern was before, if it was a mid-block crossing, then the bicyclists wouldn't really be able to utilize that facility to cross.
Mm.
But if it's right there, then yeah, maybe they could both use it.
I believe that's where we have it proposed. But
Okay, great.
I know the one thing that I kept reminding myself was, it was when RPC presented the data, they did a really good job with saying if we eliminate right-hand turns here, accident rates will drop by, I think they said 25% or different things like that. So I think that's really important for us to keep in mind, like how much safer the streets, if you eliminate choices, essentially, streets become safer. It's why highways are so much safer than our residential streets. So I think it's just really important that we keep that in mind as we move forward, just what those numbers are. And we on BPAC have seen videos of cars almost, it was a car cam almost hitting 3 pedestrians at that intersection that we were just talking about. And the person just said, the only reason I got lucky was someone else was in the car with me and I was going under 30 miles an hour. So I think it'll be really important that we make sure that these intersections work really well for the folks using them. And also, the traffic flow, I think, is another really important thing about if you eliminate certain turns, traffic flow is just much smoother for your buses and your cars. And it is a very busy street at 5 o'clock at night, so.
Right. And just because it's smoother doesn't mean it's going to be faster, though. So we want to make that clear. Okay. Then one more update on projects, the traffic signal improvements. We're planning to upgrade outdated audio devices for pedestrian signals on as many as 14 signalized intersections. The outdated devices are difficult to maintain because parts are not available anymore. Champaign is doing a similar effort in their inventory. So we finalized our traffic signal asset management plan about 2 years ago now. So they had, recommended updates to the intersections, and, we've budgeted in our CIP an amount each year for these traffic signal improvements. So now we're moving forward with some of those.
And will those be the beeps, or are they still going to be English speakers?
I don't know. No, I'll have to ask about that.
That would be important to find out. I will just say the ones that beep or they say wait if you push it, but once you can actually go, it says virtually nothing. They'd have those on campus and Central Campus, or at least they used to, and you'd kind of space out because you were expecting some kind of signal to tell you that it was clear to go, and you would get nothing, and all of a sudden the cars would be going again, and you go, oh, what was I thinking about? And you'd have to wait through a whole nother cycle. So those were the waiting and then not saying anything or not making any kind of indication that the light has changed is really awful. So it would be great if you could
Sure.
investigate that.
Yeah, I think we are updating those that have a voice on them now, like the downtown ones. I believe the voice was actually recorded by someone at Public Works. Yeah, Barb, yeah. So those will be updated, but I'm not sure, how. I don't know if it's going to be another voice, like a standardized or AI voice, or if it'll be the beeps. So I can check with John about that.
Well, just anything that kind of wakes you up to know to pay attention.
Well, the other thing that's nice about beeps is it's not, you're not prioritizing one language over another. And like you're saying, it's just, and what usually what it is it's a beep beep and then a rapid beep, and you're like, now I can cross. So, and it's also less irritating than stop, wait. I just find that irritating.
Walk sign is on to cross green.
Yeah.
The beeping would be better.
That's all I've got for updates.
All right, so are those all of our updates? Are there any questions or? I'm excited about the lights that are going to be coming on Silver and Vader. There was community concerns. Obviously, we've had tragedy happen in those spaces, and I'm very happy that we have some of the community feedback was, could we please get lights in those areas? So I'm very happy to hear and to tell people there will be lights, there will be sidewalks. So I'm really happy that this commission here put that plan together and we looked at different options and that we considered ways to slow down motor vehicle traffic as well as light those spaces. So I just want to say good job, BPAC, and thank you for the community feedback, bringing it up again. So it's going to happen. All right, so we're on to new business. Nancy and Public Works are going to talk about the snow shoveling announcements.
Okay, I will just say that I've been to a number of meetings at Pace, and this usually does happen for a big snowstorm, which we have not had for 3 years since February of 22, and before that it was February of 21. So it's not on anybody's radar until it happens. And so, and once it happens, everybody is just totally up in arms. But well, they are just totally up in arms, I will just say that. And so we had a group come and kind of go through different things that we could do. And really, what I've, after, and BPAC has talked about this a number of times, and I finally came to the real, and actually this was Channel 3 News. I heard them announce that the snow shoveling in those particular districts was going into effect. And it sounded like they read the announcement from Urbana or one of the cities, and I thought, oh, that is like the one time when it is announced, and I'm thinking it's probably announced both on radio, TV, and social media, although it would be good to confirm that. But that seems like something that would happen, you know, either when a snow is occurring or when you know that it's going to be more than a 2-inch snow, when you have to, really, you do really need to shovel, that would be the time to alert people that voluntary snow shoveling would really be a good idea for your neighbors. And so I went back and I found on the web, which is on one of these sheets, the announcement from January. And so, you know, usually, you know, on these, when they send out these messages, what is read? The first paragraph. Okay, so in bold, I put changes that I would like to make to this, and the last sentence of the first paragraph talks about, you know, voluntary shoveling for the benefit of others. But that is actually a summary of the fourth paragraph, which actually really talks about it in a little bit more detail. And so it's already in this announcement, and since the top paragraph is a summary, it just seems logical that you would include that, and maybe that would get out to the public a little bit better. And then I added a sentence in the middle of the fourth paragraph, I guess, that would explain it a little bit more. And this is, I just threw these together, and I mean, I would be happy for anybody to make modifications to improve this, but it just seemed like this might be one way we could address voluntary snow shoveling for neighbors. So that's my spiel, if anybody has any comments.
I like listed, you know, it's like to help make pedestrian travel safe, I would say especially for, but I liked listing the humans and making it, you know, like the people out there, not some abstract concept of pedestrians.
Okay, well, that's what I did in that last, yeah, but it could be changed in any way that,
I would just add maybe especially.
okay.
Yeah,
Because-
I agree. If we had it as make pedestrian travel safe for all especially, and then, yeah. So I'll add to this, this just needs to be approved by the director, I believe, my Public Works Director. So I brought this to the agenda after Nancy brought it to me, for you guys to just provide comments on this, and then I'll pass it along immediately after, if everyone's supportive of this. So she provided what she suggested in bold, and then I also showed it in the orange text on this handout here too, so you can see what's changed from what it already is.
Do we need a motion of support?
Well, I have one more small amendment. I think we probably want to add an S to end of delivery service workers, right? Yeah. And I just a clarification question. So at the beginning, so there's a snow and ice removal requirement that can be put into effect for certain areas, districts, I guess. But the idea is that property owners kind of throughout the city should clear their sidewalks. I guess I just wanted, can you provide any clarification around that? Either of you.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. There are specific districts where the property owners are required to remove the snow by an ordinance or code. And then throughout the city, we're just trying to encourage everyone.
Okay,
So
it's
maybe
it's
if we
like
just said
recommended.
everyone or
Yeah.
all property owners
Okay.
should clear their snow even outside of the districts.
Okay.
And by taking out voluntarily, I mean, it's like, we know what should means. They don't say they must, and they just said who must. So it's like the rest of you should, you know? But adding voluntarily sort of means, well, if you want to volunteer, which is different from, no, you should get it done.
Yeah, I guess I wonder if it might be helpful to use a word like recommend for that new sentence there. Because the should, I guess I got confused because I thought the should wasn't like the implication of the snow and ice removal requirement. But then I got confused because they're talking about different areas. So maybe if we could say something like, the city recommends that property owners outside of these districts also clear their sidewalks or something like that.
It weakens it a little, but it is, dangerously ambiguous as to,
Is it, when I read this, I was like, well, if I'm not in that area, then I don't need to do anything. Or I shouldn't do anything. Nobody's telling me to do anything. So I'm just going to not read anymore.
How about the city recommends that all property owners, even those outside of these districts, should clear, maybe not also, so we're saying all, should clear their sidewalks for the safety of pedestrians.
So are these actually sent out, or do people have to come to the city to look for is it just on the city website and people come to that, or?
This announcement?
Yeah.
It's released from our communications specialist, Bridget. She puts this out. I'm not sure who all is on that release, but it's a public release. So I know it goes to the news, like WCIA, News Gazette, and maybe anyone who's signed up to receive them.
What would be cool, and I am kind of half making a joke, but I'm actually very serious, would be if this would get texted to people, if people could just get a text message that there's going to be a snow event, and it would be recommended if you're in the district, you should shovel, and if you're not, this is why we would ask you to shovel. Because I personally do not receive these news releases, and if you're not on social media, you're not going to see them there. But I know that's not a reality right now, but I'm just going to say that would just be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I want to say, within the districts, you can get penalized if you don't shovel. but there's no consequence outside of those districts. So even though everybody I mean, I don't know if we need to make that distinction or not. Okay.
I'm just more trying to think of a way that we could, right now, let people know that there's going to be snow.
Find your shovel.
Find your shovel. And also just, it's more of a community event. It's less of just, well, you know, that woman down the street does it, but I don't need to do it. So it's just, that's all I'm trying to think of, a way that I think we've been struggling with this for years, is how do we make it more of a thing that everybody takes some responsibility for?
Or did we want to move to approve it or to support it?
I move to approve with the
I'll
the
second
amendments.
that motion.
This motion passes?
No,
Oh, we got to
all in
vote.
favor?
No.
We got to
Oh.
Oh,
vote.
sorry. I need to, not used to being the chair. Apologies. So
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This motion passes. The next order of business is the e-bike policy and contract updates.
Okay, so I added this. I don't have any updates on the contract, but I wanted to bring it to the group to discuss maybe this group potentially having a subcommittee, or could do this within the regularly scheduled meetings, looking into a new contract for us with the shared bike services in town, because we do not have a current contract. It expired, and then we didn't get one in place. We have a shortage of staff in our planning division, so that's been on their to-do list for a while, but they just don't have the capacity to do it. But could use some help reviewing a draft contract that they have. So I wanted to see if there was support from this group to provide that review, provide input on what you think would be good. I think we can provide not only the draft for the city, but the one that the city had previously that has expired, and then potentially some other sample contracts used by other cities.
So the subcommittee would review the proposed contract, make a recommendation to BPAC, which then would perhaps forward a recommendation to the city. Like that?
That's my thought, but I'm open to anything here.
It actually sounds pretty straightforward. If they have a
Yeah.
contract, a vanilla contract they've used in other municipalities like this, we should be able to look at it.
Yeah, and I know Champaign has a contract in place with VO, I believe, and the university has one with VO and Bird. So, yeah,
And the city's legal counsel would have a final look at it.
of course, yes.
Yeah, we would just be giving input.
But this could help give
But
it some
they-
momentum and
Right.
assist the planning staff where
Yeah.
they're short-staffed.
I would be happy to help with this if we had others to do it, on a hunch that the future of these kinds of rentals is probably not bright, in that the price of e-bikes is going down. And the same way we move from other rentable technology to everybody having their own, I sense a similar kind of an arc. But in the short term, we probably, if we had a contract for a couple of years, that would make sense.
Yeah, at least to establish some boundaries of where you can park these vehicles, what happens if you park them in the wrong place, where you should be charging them, that kind of thing.
There's a lot of we've had a lot of worries come before us about bikes dumped on sidewalks and
Right.
middle of Colorado Avenue and all over the place. Sure, I mean, I'll volunteer if anybody will join. We'll get together a group maybe of 3.
I would be happy to, and I was already working with Marcus on this. Like I had sent Marcus the draft, or not the signed version of the contracts, but the draft version of the contracts that the university has. So, I mean, we had this meeting sometime last semester. I don't remember exactly when, but we had that conversation, but I did not hear back. So it would be good to see what the draft looks like right now, and then I can give the university's point of view as to what we are doing, and then we can coordinate from there.
Obviously, having the university and the city on the same page would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Sure.
And City of Champaign also has a contract with Bird,
Okay.
so they have both. My question for you right now, though, is like I know like Bird is not allowed on City of Urbana property.
Well,
VO
it's not that
is.
they're not allowed, just we don't have a contract with
Yeah.
them, so I think they are staying off.
Yeah.
Or trying to avoid
Is
Urbana.
VO still operating? VO is still operating here, right?
Yes.
In Urbana?
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a contract, but yes, they are.
Yeah. Okay.
So just to clarify, this is one contract, but would be for just VO or both VO and
Would be
Bird?
two separate contracts. Because
okay.
two separate companies, or that's what I'm assuming.
Okay.
I think so.
So one
Yeah.
with each provider.
Yes. That's how we have it with, like at the university, we have two concession agreements with the two. Yeah.
They'd essentially be the same, except probably different numbers and vehicles or something like that. But they're, the boundaries would be the same, the rules would be the same.
Yes, yes, yes. One kind of, it's not really a difference, but VO still has their sit-down scooters or Class 2 e-bikes. We have those a little bit more restricted on campus. So for instance, they're not allowed to operate on throttle at any of the quads. Like on the sidewalks of any of the quads, they're not allowed to use the motor. But with Bird, they don't have a throttle-based vehicle. So they operate as a bicycle would, which is allowed to be on shared use paths, but they are going to, like, we have a contract or we have an agreement with Bird that there are slow ride zones, same as VO, that on the quads for the Class 1 e-bikes, they're going to have like slower speed limits. Like, I think it's 8 miles per hour or something. Yeah, so it's slightly different, but everything else is pretty
The
much
priorities are the
same.
same.
Yeah. It's just based on what fleet vehicle they have in the market.
Is the Park District having a look at this contract at the same time?
Does the Park District want to take a look at it?
I think it could be beneficial for us, yeah, for going forward in the future. Yeah,
Should we, three,
yeah,
Do
yeah.
this.
I'm okay with that.
I feel like I just bulldogged you on this.
No, I wasn't really thinking about it in that sense, but we're not working on anything like that at the moment. But for the future, yeah, that would be beneficial.
Share documents around and see if we're in
Yeah.
agreement. Doesn't
Yeah.
sound like an arduous and time-consuming job. Sure, let's do it. I mean, yeah.
And from previous communications with the Park District or somewhere, I think there were some concerns about having these bicycles on the shared use paths. So, yeah, like I think it would be very good to have more conversation about like how can we regulate that, and if we still want to allow them to be on the shared use paths or not, and how can we do that?
Do you mean like around Meadowbrook Park or?
Not just parks. Like in Urbana downtown, you're not allowed to ride your bicycle on a sidewalk.
Right.
So making sure that those exceptions are listed. It's important to have those documented. So.
'Cause, yeah, those are my questions, is does the contract with the university involve geofencing? Okay. And is there any revenue involved?
The university does not get any revenue from the vendors, but from the bike share program, other than the initial, like, yearly, we call it's the bike registration fee that we get, but that's it. Yeah.
And then my last question is has there ever been discussion of drop-off spots? So spaces on campus, and I know we haven't done it in the city of Urbana, but is there ever any thought of just sort of normalizing that concept that you can get, if you go to this location, there will be a bike there or a scoot or?
We've had conversations about not having too many bicycles or bicycles at certain locations. So for instance, campus instructional facility, anywhere around that facility, there is no space for personal bicycles. So it's very hard for us to give them like Vio or Bird any space over there. But we still we are working with them on how can we accommodate Vio and Bird, because campus instructional facility is a big destination for students. Similarly, like close to YMCA right now, there is that construction work going around in that area, and that particular intersection is a very popular spot for students to just drop off their bicycles. So we've basically asked VO to remove that and Bird to remove that location, especially because of the construction work. So we have talked about potentially giving them some space where they can redistribute their bicycles that are not bike racks, but that hasn't materialized yet. Like, it's been approved, haven't implemented it.
Yeah, because when you get up in the morning and you walk and you just see that, they're distributing them around the city. I just think it would be ideal if we could have just a parking spot out here, and you could just find one out here in this giant parking lot or other spaces. Even if it's just 2 or 3 spaces, it doesn't have to be anything more than that. But it is very irritating to trip over because they are and sometimes I'm like, did VO just drop 4 or 5 bikes here? And that's very irritating for folks. So if we had drop-off spots, people are willing to walk a block or 2 to get a bike.
I would say, like, VO has been really good over the last few years. Bird, well, this was their first year, so we are still getting to know them. Good.
Yeah, just following up on that. So I know in some other cities they have what I think is called like a hub-based bike share system, similar to that, but where they build out an actual hub, like usually in a parking spot, I think, like in the street. I know that would require a lot more coordination and planning, but yeah, even if they could just, geofence some bike parking that already exists and then have a sign up that says like, bring your bikes here. I don't know if they're able to do this, but I know with other systems, they can offer some sort of incentive, like you get $1 off if you take it back there. And then you can actually make money by going around picking up bikes and taking them to the zones or the hubs.
I think there was a discussion with VO about incentivizing students or users who park their bicycles correctly in the correct locations.
Yeah.
But we cannot create hubs, like physical hubs, just because with the university's procurement, but we cannot, like, if we create a hub, that's distracting.
Yeah.
If we create
Excuse us.
Okay.
yeah, but anyway, if we create a hub, we will have to put in a sign that says VO or Bird Bikes here. That particular thing is not allowed for us to do because it's a third party vendor, and we cannot promote third-party vendor.
But you have car parking, you have car rental parking lots.
So with Zipcar, there is a specific contract, and that contract is through it. It's a much more complicated system with what we have with Zipcar, because I think that there is a contract where I think, if I'm not wrong, I may be wrong on that, but I think it's through MTD where we have an IGA for like MTD, Urbana-Champaign, and the university, and then that's how like Zipcar has their own signs because of that contract and that IGA. But with the bike share, that was specifically, even the IGA that we used to have was specifically that it will be a dockless thing because we want other countries.
Yeah, so those are like my thoughts are, at this point, VO has a lot of data on where the bikes are being used, who's picking them up, how they're moving. I always wondered if when I was talking about the hub system, I always wondered if we couldn't work with the MTD to look at maybe and again, I do not know if this is a reality or not, if people are taking MTD and then using the last mile to hub and spoke out of with the VOs has sort of been one of my long-running questions with that. The other thing about parking spots on campus is the streets on campus are some are owned by the university, but some are also owned by the city. And I know, anyone who drives a car to campus is probably, hating me at this moment, but like we could, designate spots on campus where you could, because the bikes do not need to be locked up. So they don't have to be bike racks. They just have to be like blue paint on the ground, the bikes go here, and then you can find a bike there. I just know when I used the system, I was deeply frustrated because I'm walking around with my phone trying to find a bike, and then I found a bike and that one didn't work, and then I had to go find another bike, and it just was much easier in Chicago where you just know the bikes are here, you find your bike, and you take off. And I'm willing to walk a block or two to find a pile of bikes and know that one of them's going to work for me.
Sounds like you need to be on the committee.
Just one footnote question. The contract would be for how many years?
How many
many years
years?
would
Well,
the
how many
contract-
years is your contract for?
So for us, I think the contract with VO runs until 2028, and then if we want to extend it, then we will do that. And with Bird, we just signed like a 10-year contract because that's the maximum contract length. It's the same as VO's because the first contract with VO was signed in 2018, so that's why it's going until 2028, and then will have to be a new contract instead of a renewal. So, but there is of course like the clause of if we want to back out, or if the company wants to back out.
It's up to our discretion.
Yeah, my abiding hunch is within a very short time, like 2 or 3 years, the issue before us will be reckoning with an abundance of privately owned transportation. Prices just dropping like a rock. You can now get an e-bike for about $200 more than a conventional, well-made analog bike. They're getting, they're just there, and and just as we gave up on, before you were born, we had computer labs where students could access a computer. I think we're sort of heading in that direction.
I would still think like there would still be a place for bike share, but yes, yes, I agree.
There might be just as much bike share, just 10 times as many people also having.
So have we established a subcommittee? I don't know what has to formally take place. So we've got the three of you.
Do I need to move that we establish a subcommittee comprised of?
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So moved, okay?
So moved.
All
Yeah,
right.
we've established a subcommittee and we have,
I'll second the motion.
right? Oh, I will call this to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. moving along. This is probably the shortest BPAC meeting, and I'm really impressed with us. But we're not done yet. So does anyone have any announcements?
I bought an e-bike. I got treated over and over again as a Luddite here. It's been concern, not grudging, that stopped me. I have a daughter who owns a Bachfiets e-bike. This is a gigantic, incredibly expensive bike with which she hauls 2 strapping kids to school, back and forth to school in Utrecht right now. I hope to hell she doesn't bring it home because there's no place on her block to store it. And there are other e-bikes in the family. So I've joined the dark side, if you want to look at it.
And what do you think? What do you think about your e-bike experience?
Hasn't shown up yet. I bought it from
Oh.
a couple of appropriately tattooed guys in San Diego. Sent them the money. I'm hoping the bike arrives before the daffodils are up. So, okay. No, I have confidence.
Well, we look forward to your update and your e-bikes. They really are fun. Like, I did not take them seriously, and then I rode one, and I was like, game changer.
I have sort of 2 announcements. I think you guys already might know that the new health and wellness facility opened January, Saturday, 2025. So it's a big accomplishment for the Park District. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, I would highly recommend it. I wish my office was there.
It's great.
It's beautiful. It really
I got a
is.
pass
and
to it.
smart. So,
Yeah.
It really is. It's a nice facility. It's a good deal.
We have heavy traffic on the weekends. We're already thinking about adding in our 3rd bay of parking pretty soon. So whether that's like grant or UPD funding, we'll figure it out hopefully. Secondly, we have begun our master planning for King Park. So we will be starting a committee either next week or in the next following week after that. So if you'd like to be on that committee, or if you know anyone that would like to be on that committee, please let me know or let the Park District know. We've talked to the city so far. We've talked to Audubon, that's adjacent to King Park. We've talked to Habitat Humanity, and then also just neighbors in the area. So we're really excited to get that master plan going. That's it for me.
All right, I have a few. So the campus bike plan was approved back in December, and it's now been published. So that's the one big announcement. The second one, I have, we are going to do a survey, which is going to be, we're calling it the Campus Transportation Survey. Used to be called a Mode Choice Survey, Mode Share Survey. We do this survey every 3 years, or this is the 3rd time we are doing it in the last 6 years. Our goal is to do it every 3 years. This survey will be available for all campus users, so any students, faculty, and staff only. But our main objective is to find out like how people get to the campus and how do they move around when they're on campus, and then also get some understanding of where they live, how far do they have to commute, how long does it take, things like that. So that survey will go out next month, so March 3rd, and it will be open until 6th of April. And hopefully I can give you some updates, some results from that data at the end of April or during the May meeting. Then I have an idea about this event. It's more than idea because I have so many leftover Bike to Work Day t-shirts and like the night lights. It's more than an idea. So we are actually I'm working with RPC, and I have reached out to Urbana and Champaign and MTD. Champaign is going to help. I haven't heard back from Urbana yet. We're calling it Bike for Earth Day. So it's an event going to be on Earth Day with the rain date of April 23rd. So April 22nd will be the date for Bike for Earth Day, where I'm going to host 2-3 stations, or maybe 3 stations on campus, similar to Light the Night, where we give out bike lights, and at the end we'll have T-shirts to give away. Will also be, like, RPC is going to be doing some surveying. There is not going to be a need for registration or anything. It's just going to be come with a bicycle. If you're registered, great. If you're not, register your bicycle, get a T-shirt, and be on your way. Will be open for everybody on campus and in the community. So on the same, about the same event, City of Champaign, they're going to be handing out some lights at like the third shift users of other like, major employers. I don't remember where they're going to do it. Lily had mentioned something and I forgot. But they're going to do some giveaways for that event for third shift workers. So I'm also part of the Healthy Champaign County group. And I brought this up to their attention and they're willing to participate. So if I know Bridget was interested in giving out some of these lights and T-shirts to especially lower income neighborhoods, and if we can just collaborate on that, that's totally fine. I would like to get rid of all the lights that I have sitting in my office, but it would be nice to actually be able to give it out to as many people as we can. So that's Bike for Earth Day. A week after that, I'm planning to do a bike census on campus. And that will just be like counting the number of bicycles parked on campus here. I don't have a date decided, but it will be the week after Bike for Earth Day, somewhere in that. Final announcement is through, like, basically, it's, as I say, like, I'm part of Healthy Champaign County as well. So they have this active transportation working group, basically, or active living working group. And they host Park Run at Morrissey Park in Champaign on every Saturday starting at 9 a.m. So if you guys like to do 5Ks or want to do 5Ks or walk 5Ks, you can volunteer or you can participate. It's free, it's fun. You can just go.
Where do they do it exactly?
Morrissey Park in Champaign. It's, I think it is on Windsor. Yeah, it's way west. But yeah, like if you're interested, if you'd like to participate, there is no registration required, no anything. You can just show up, you can walk, or you can run.
And basically
have
know
to
that you're going to
finish
have
5K.
company.
Sorry?
And basically know that you're going to have company.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
thing. No,
Yeah.
I just, because we drove out in that area and saw a bunch of people last Saturday, and so I was like, and I remember saying, oh, they're all out today because they're not going out the rest of the week.
Yeah, and they've been doing this all throughout this winter. Like they haven't stopped this event. I think they missed one Saturday, but they started sometime in May of 24, and they've been doing it every Saturday at 9 a.m. Something maybe Urbana Park District could also like.
It's the same route, right? Every time people
Yes.
just show up and do the I just read about this. Yeah, it's the same route every time, and it's just 5K, and people start at the same time. You can walk it, you can run it, and then there's no commitment, there's no money. I mean, it's just people just do it.
Yeah.
It's
And there
lovely.
is and there is a tail runner, by the way, so you will never finish last. Yeah. And you can volunteer for to be a tail runner too. Just FYI, like if you really want to do that, like you can do that too. That's all from me.
I would just like to remind everybody, we have an election that is, you can vote now, but February 25th, 2025, or 2/25/25, which would be Tuesday, and it's going to be 49 degrees and sunny. We have folks who are voting can choose a mayoral candidate, and then there, depending on what ward you live in, there are oh my gosh, I'm spacing this. 2 wards that are up for 3. It's Bill. Amazing. Anyway, there's a couple wards that are up. I'm sorry, I'm spacing right now on that. Yard signs. Yeah, that's all I have for an announcement. Does anyone have any future topics?
I owe this group some kind of a recommendation with some documentation on the intersection, no turn on red thing we talked about last time. I haven't had a chance to go out there and look at it from all angles. I just looked at it from eastbound, and I've got to see how the other directions are impacted. I'll try to get that ready by the next meeting.
And that was the no turn on red where? Carmen, I have a question. Lincoln Avenue, that's just a study, and that street's in really bad shape. And so even when the study gets approved, it'll probably be a couple of years before federal funding becomes available for that street. I'm wondering, the deep thought I've had since that sort of realization began to hit me was I'm wondering if we can't try, I don't know if we have any funds for demonstration projects or if we have a way to get if there's something we might not be able to do in the interim on that street. And you don't have to answer right now, but it was just a deep thought I had when I drove down that street the other day. I went, oh, wow, this condition will not last for four or more years, which is probably what we're looking at before we get federal funding for that street. So that's just a thought I just want to put out there.
We do not have funding right now for interim solutions, but that is something that is being considered by our traffic engineering team, is how we could implement the proposed changes in phases, potentially. So yeah, it's something that we're considering. In the meantime, operations will do their best to take care of the potholes.
The endless task. All right. Is there any other future topics? If anyone has any thoughts, my question regarding, is there for King Park, do you need any feedback from us or thoughts on that, or?
Not necessarily. It's just an invitation. If you wanted to come join and give feedback there, that'd be perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to bring up for next time, or are we feeling good? All right.
Move to adjourn?
I believe we're going to move to adjourn. Should we vote? All right. Do we have to